Hey guys, welcome to Dr. Brain's Vlog episode 9. I know it is very long overdue. Thank you so much to all of you for being patient. We will talk about 5 topics as usual. The first thing is June in review. I did not record a vlog last month just because I went to Vegas. World Series of Poker took up a lot of the first half of July, so I am finally getting into it now. We will go over all the notable MTTs. And then we will move on to July and talk about those MTTs as well. Last but not least, I know a lot of you have been looking forward to this for a while. I will talk about World Series of Poker. I went to Vegas and played 2 events, and I'll tell you all about them right here. So for June in review, the first thing I want to talk about is my Teespring campaign. As part of the 1-year birthday celebration for the stream, I launched a t-shirt, and this is what it looks like. I'll move back a little bit so you can get the full glory of the Be a Hero t-shirt. I had a lot of fun selling the t-shirt, talking about it, and now that I'm finally wearing it, it was totally all worth it. Thank you so much to everyone who bought a t-shirt. It really means a lot to me that you support the stream. I hope you guys like the shirt, and I know I'm really gonna enjoy wearing it. Speaking of the 1-year streaming anniversary, I want to thank B-Berry for this awesome mic stand that he bought me. You can see it right here in all its glory. He gave this to me as a birthday present for the stream, and I just want to say thanks. It really does improve the stream a lot to have the mic here instead of down there. Near the end of June, I unfortunately got sick for the very first time since getting diagnosed with lupus. Since I got diagnosed, I obviously have felt bad at times. I've had to take days off, I've had to spend some time in bed and all that fun stuff. But this was the first time I ever got actually sick since then, and the first time I've ever had to stay in bed for multiple days. So I did miss an entire week of streaming because of getting sick. I got a pretty bad sinus infection, had to take antibiotics to try to clear it up, and I got a really killer cough. The worst cough I've had in years. It was so bad, and I'm going to complain a little bit about it later on when I talk about the World Series because it really did drive me crazy there. But yeah, I guess this was another pretty notable thing about June, and it's not a fun thing to talk about, but I don't know. It's June in review, so I talked about it. Okay, so let's talk about how poker went in June. Interestingly, I actually had no idea how much I was up or down at the end of June. I didn't actually look at my poker tracker until recently, and I guess it just means that it was a pretty boring month. It didn't win a lot, obviously, and probably didn't lose a lot. Looking at my results, the biggest score that I had was in the $55 Monsoon on 888. I came first in that, and it was pretty cool because that was the first MTT I'd ever streamed on 888, and I won it. Whoa. So I actually cashed for $2,989, and that was in the middle of June. I'd been on a bit of a downswing before that, so I actually ended up losing a little bit in the month of June. It wasn't too much. It was around $1,000, so I'm pretty glad that I didn't lose too much, but it still was a losing month overall. Some other notable tournaments. I made the final table of the $22 4K guaranteed on PokerStars. It wasn't an impressive performance. I ended up coming in 8th, but it was a final table, so guess I'll talk about it. Also on PokerStars. Oh, sorry, no. All the other tournaments are 888 tournaments. So $24 4K guaranteed. There is a YouTube video for this. I'll leave it down below if you want to take a look at it. I finished in 7th in that for a few $100s, and then I came in 2nd in the $109 Tornado on 888 near the end of the month for around $1,200. So a little bit disappointing that I couldn't win that one, and actually if I'd won it I probably would have broken even on the month, so it's too bad. That close, right? So yeah, that was MTTs in June. Ended up down a little bit. Now, July in review isn't actually very interesting because I'm going to talk about the World Series of Poker. That's the main thing that happened for me in July, and I'll talk about that later on. I guess the one news that July brought was the fact that I decided to make a YouTube series. I really want to produce more YouTube content, but I'm not exactly sure what to do. And a lot of other streamers, they do highlights of their streams. They do, I guess, final tables and that kind of thing. And I do post videos to final tables that I make, but I kind of wanted something a little bit different. So I decided to start a spin and go challenge. And I haven't released any videos yet, but they will be coming actually next week. It's August 10th right now, and I'm planning on launching the series next week. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel here so that you don't miss any spin and go videos. And yeah, I think it's going to be pretty fun. It's going to be slow going because each video is only going to have a handful of spins. So the challenge could conceivably go on forever, depending on how high in stakes I want to climb. I will be starting at 25-cent spins and then trying to move up. I will say one thing about spin and goes though, and about this challenge. Recording these videos has reminded me how much spins tilt me. It doesn't matter what stake I play, they're still really fucking tilting. Okay, now that that's put out there, definitely stay tuned for those. So because I spent half the month in Vegas, the list of notable MTTs for July is pretty short. My best finish was 4th place in the $30 Swordfish, the deep stack version on 888. I came 4th for $838, and I actually laddered from 8th place to 4th place, which was pretty cool. There is a video of this in the channel if you wanted to take a look. I'll leave a link down below. And finally, the last notable MTT, this wasn't even a final table, it was just a deep run on PokerStars. I came 11th in the 44 Bounty Builder for a few $100s. And I've never made the final table of the 44 Bounty Builder. I would love to do it one day, and it's unfortunate that I got so close. So close, but so far to a big cash in that. Let's finally talk about World Series of Poker. So I made the decision pretty much at the last minute. I think it was about 2 weeks before I left. I decided to go to Vegas. I'm not into live poker. It's not really my thing. I love online. I love streaming, right? So I just didn't really consider going. But then I did realize that this might be the last time that I ever get to go and play the main event. Not because I don't think I'll be playing poker next year. It's just that things change. Who knows if I'll be playing MTTs? Who knows if I will have the means to go? Who knows if I will be as free as I am now, etc., etc. Who knows anything? So I thought, well, I've never played in the main event before. Let's sell some action and let's go. I was lucky enough to sell action to some friends. Thank you very much to everyone who bought a piece of me in the main event. You guys are awesome. And yeah, went to Vegas. So before I went to Vegas, I played in a really crappy $300 local event. It was beyond awful. There were 20-minute blinds. Starting stack was okay, but the blind jumps were really bad. So I basically played 2 hands the entire time. I was super card dead, and it was just awful. I mean, 20-minute blinds, right? So I didn't really feel like I'd played any live poker before I went to Vegas. And actually, before I played that event locally, I hadn't played live poker for 3 years. So I thought, well, it might be good to play a small event in Vegas, just get kind of used to handling chips again. And also, I wanted to just test the Rio. I wanted to see how cold it was in there. I get cold pretty easily, so I wanted to see if I'd be comfortable wearing the clothes I was planning on wearing. So cue the $235 daily deep stack at the Rio. They have this like the name suggests, on a regular basis, daily basis, and it's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I had planned to get into Vegas. Let's see. I'd planned to get into Vegas, I think, 2 days before the ladies' event. So my plan was to kind of rest up the first day, play the deep stack the next day, and then play the ladies' event on the 3rd day. But the problem is that I found out that the deep stacks take at least 12 hours to play. I had to be at the Rio at 11 o'clock a.m. to play the ladies' event on the Friday. And if I was, by some miracle, if I won the deep stack the night before, I was going to be just dead tired for World Series on Friday. So I said, well, that kind of sucks. I guess I have to play the deep stack the day, the first day we're in Vegas, take a break the second day, and that way I'd be rested the 3rd day for for the ladies event. So, I mean, in hindsight, I wish we got to Vegas one day earlier so that I could have had one day to kind of get my affairs in order, one day to play the deep stack, and then a day in between. But that's not what happened. So anyway, yeah, registered for this tournament. Now, when I registered for this tournament, I figured that I would play a few hours, get used to chips, enjoy being at a live table again, and I would bust, and that would be it, right? No, don't get me wrong, I didn't want to bust, but I just assumed it would go that way. I didn't expect myself to bust really quickly, and I didn't expect to go deep. That's just kind of, that's usually what we expect when we play MTTs, I think. But yeah, so that didn't happen. Not only did I go deep, my deep stack tournament was really, there was a lot of people. So the event, which I thought was going to take 12 hours, it actually took 14 hours. What the fuck? I didn't end up playing 14 hours myself. I ended up playing 12 hours. I came 21st for $1,247. I forget how many people played it, but it was a lot of people. First was 35,000, and the buy-in was 235. So it was a lot of people. It was a lot. And I came 21st. I don't know, it's kind of sick to think about that I went so deep in it. And because it was such a small buy-in, 21st was only 1,200. I know that I really can't be sad about it, because I did go deep, and I made a healthy profit in the event. It's just disappointing to get so close, 21st, and then not even make the final table, right? Damn, it makes me so sad to think about it right now. I was really tired, though, going deep. I mean, I made stupid mistakes, and I will talk about them. I'll talk about them in a second, but I was used to sleeping at 11 o'clock and waking up at 6:30 in the morning to stream. And I was still playing poker on this day at 2 in the morning. So you can imagine how shitty I felt. Like, I'm not someone that does really well operating on very little sleep. And I'm not someone that does well staying up past bedtime. So it sucked. I'm not gonna lie, it sucked. But overall, the experience was good, and I did get my practice in. So I'm pretty happy that I came 21st. One of the main reasons I wanted to play this event was, like I said, I wanted to get acclimatized to the Rio. But I also wanted to see if there were certain things that I needed to pay particular attention to when I played live. I hadn't played live for so long, I didn't know what my mistakes were, I didn't know what my tendencies were, so it was really good that I got to play for so long because I learned these things. I made 2 pretty bad mistakes while I was playing. These mistakes happened when I was tired, when it got late, and it was way past my bedtime. The first mistake that I made was I was in the big blind one time, and a short stack went all in late position. I had just a terrible hand. I don't even remember what it was. I don't know. I think I had a 3 in it. It was something 3, 3x. It was really bad, and I wouldn't normally call any raises with it. So when the short stack went all in, I just mucked, like I insta-mucked. But then after the hand was over, I looked at the stack and I realized just how short he was. I think he had a stack that I probably should have called. I mean, if he had around 3 big blinds, it should have been a call with basically any cards that I had, just because the antes were huge. But I didn't even bother to check. And that's really tilting to me that I didn't even bother to ask for a chip count, because the dealer would have told me how many chips he had. So that was a really big mistake. I was pretty sad about that. And yeah, to this day I have no idea how many chips he had. FML. The other bad mistake that I made, okay, that mistake was bad. This mistake takes the fucking cake, okay? Are you ready for this? Are you ready? So I was in the small blind. I had 7-3 suited. I was pretty short. I forget how many chips I had, but I was short. And I thought to myself, okay, well, if it falls to me, I'm going to go all in blind versus blind, which is fine. And so the action got to me. I did go all in as promised. But after I went all in, I realized that someone else had gone all in before me, and it was someone that I couldn't see very well, but he had a pretty small stack, and he went all in, and I 3-bet jammed over his initial jam with 7-3 suited. Oh my god. Such corny face, right? So, yeah. He flipped over ace jack. Now, I had 7-3 suited, so I had pretty good equity considering that I had such a bad hand. I was pretty happy. I was really grateful that my equity was so good. I actually ended up flopping a pair and a flush draw, and I did end up hitting my flush on the river. My opponent hit a jack, so he did hit top pair, but yeah, not as good as the flush, right? 7-3 suited, boys and girls. Oh my god. So that was the really huge mistake that I made. So bad. So I guess I learned that I gotta look at the table and pay attention, right? Oh my god. It's a good thing that I did that in the 235. The last mistake that I made on that day, well, that I know of, the last big mistake is just a sizing mistake. I wasn't, obviously, since I'm an online player, we're not used to adding up all the pots. So I just at one point added up a pot wrong and ended up betting a little bit more than I wanted to bet. I think I bet 2/3 pot instead of half pot, and I realized it after the hand was done. So that's just another mistake I made that day. Like I said, I'm really glad that I played the event. I learned that I have to really be careful about adding the pots and just always knowing how much is out there. I need to be careful about making sure no one's in the pot, and I had to be careful about just making sure that I always know how many chips are in my opponent's stacks at all times. So going into the World Series events on Friday and then the main event the next week, I knew that I had to pay close attention to these things, so I did. I just made sure. The other thing that I was doing, which I think is pretty standard for someone that doesn't play a lot of live poker, is I was throwing in the wrong denomination of chips. Like, instead of throwing in a 50, I would throw in a 500, which is obviously really bad. But that didn't really affect me very much because I was always announcing my bet sizes, so it didn't really matter that I was doing that. But obviously, if I wasn't announcing my bet sizing, that would have been a really bad mistake. So, just kind of some noob mistakes that people make when they play live poker. I did some of those things, and I did correct them. I was able to correct them because I made the mistakes in that small tournament. So I'm grateful for it. So the World Series of Poker ladies event, $1,000 to enter. I played that the following Friday, so I had a day after the deep stack, and then I played the ladies event the next day. It was a struggle to get to the Rio by, I didn't actually get there at 11. I got there a little bit into level 1, and it was a struggle to get there at that time because I went to bed at 4 in the morning. Not the previous night, but the night before that. And then, like, my sleeping was just all messed up by then, so that kind of sucked. But I did get there for the first level. I drew the worst table ever. It's actually tilting how bad my table was. Jennifer Shahade, the PokerStars Pro, and of course the chess prodigy, she was there. Sophia Lovegren, the 888 Pro, was to my direct right. Yeah, this is right. Okay, yeah, she's to my direct right, and as well as another girl who had been in Vegas for the entire series. I had no idea who she was, but she was talking about her grind and how she'd been there since the start of June, I think. So at least 3 pros, I assume. And then there was another girl that was 3-betting really good hands. She had really good sizing, pre-flop and post-flop. So, not cool. Really bad table. We started with 5,000 chips, and the structure in this event is really bad. At the first level, we were up to BB 100. After the first level. So the first level was 25.50, so great. 100 big blinds. And then we had 50 big blinds effective with a starting stack by the time we hit the second level. That sucks. All right. And I know it's $1,000 event. It's just, like, kind of disappointing that it wasn't slightly better. But anyway, like I said, really fast structure. I lost a 3-bet pot in the first level, so I was down to kind of a subpar stack, like as soon as we hit big blind 100. So I didn't really have like a lot to work with. You just lose one pot and then you're fucked. You kind of got to sit there and be a little bit nitty. So not that I'm opposed to being a nitty player, but still, yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be nice to have options. The 3-bet pot was me raised calling with ace 10. In hindsight, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, I raised called with ace 10, and the reason why I called was because the 3-bet sizing was really bad. It was not quite enough. But the thing is, I was out of position, and it was from someone that probably wasn't 3-betting light at all. So, and I don't know, ace 10, I don't necessarily know if that's the best hand to call with. But I did call, and the flop was 10. It was 10 high with 2 smaller cards. So I ended up calling a c-bet and folding to a turn bet. So yeah, that was the first hand that I played post flop, and then after that I was kind of at a shorter stack. Actually did not win a single pot post flop. Which is pretty disappointing. I didn't hit a single flop after that 10 high flop, and I raised when I c-bet in every single. I mean, not every single pot that I played I got raised. Sometimes I got called, and then I had to give up on the turn. You know, that kind of thing. So it was pretty disappointing overall. I didn't play a ton of post flop hands though with my stack, since I had less than 5,000 chips once the second level started, and I just didn't really have a lot of opportunities, not a lot of good hands. And I had less than 40 big blinds when we went to the second level, so the hands that I just have a chance to play, I lost, and eventually I was in push-fold mode. I did double up once. I raised called with jacks. I had jacks in early position. I raised Jen Shahade. She went all in with pocket tens. I got unlucky, obviously, to have tens, and I had jacks, and I doubled up there. I mean, there's not really a lot of notable hands to talk about here. That's basically it that's it for hands that I won. Then I guess the one other hand that I considered playing other than the jacks, that I considered getting it in with, rather, is I had pocket nines at one point under the gun, and I raised. I got called by 2 people, and then Sophia, who is to my direct right, like I said earlier, she was the big blind in that hand, she squeezed. And I spent a moment, actually, in that hand fighting with myself and trying to conjure up the discipline to fold, because I mean, she's not squeezing light there, right? I mean, I guess there's a small chance that she was, but I mean, she's not. And I was sitting there, I was sitting there actually trying to convince myself to get it in, because I had nines. I hadn't had a lot of good hands at the table. It was a frustrating tournament, and I didn't want to fold nines. And like, I know you're sitting there thinking to yourself right now, nines suck, and it's not even a good hand. Who cares? I was under the gun, right? Someone squeezed in the big blind. Just give the nines up. But for some reason, I just really didn't want to. Eventually, I did come to my senses, and I did fold. Thank God. But that was kind of an interesting moment in the tournament where I was almost undisciplined in a spot where I shouldn't be undisciplined. So yeah, other than that, I didn't do anything else except go all in blind versus blind with ace 5 suited. I was actually in the big blind. My opponent, she went all in, and I called with ace 5 suited. I think I had 10 big blinds or something, maybe a little bit less, and she had ace jack and held. So yeah, that was the ladies event. So between the ladies event and the main event, I had a couple days. I didn't actually really do anything fun. Like I said earlier, I'd been sick prior to going to Vegas, so I just stayed in. I drank a lot of fluids, I ate good food, and I took care of myself to make sure that I would feel good when I went to play the main event I played on Monday. I played on day 1C. So I mean, I woke up that day. I felt fine. I felt ready to go. The only thing is that I had a lingering cough. This cough, God, it was so brutal. It's one of the worst coughs I've ever had in my life, and you're talking to someone that's had a lot of throat infections. It was so bad. I could not stop coughing. I had coughing fits occasionally, and when you're at a poker table and you're not able to stop coughing, and you're trying to look at your hands while you're coughing, and you're just cough, 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 cough. It's not good. It's not cool. I mean, I had cough drops. I had water. I did everything I could, but it was just awful. So that made sitting there at the table not very fun. Overall, the good thing is that overall, like, the me getting sick before going to Vegas didn't impede me in any way, other than just being annoying because of the cough. I felt fine, and so I was really grateful for that. I actually thought that there might be a chance I would have to refund my investors and not play the main event because I got sick, but luckily for me that didn't happen. Looking back, I guess, overall at the main event, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is that it was quite the grind. It was quite the grind. I mean, you sit there, you're one tabling, and when I play live poker, I concentrate a lot. I focus. I actually take notes live when I see someone doing something interesting. And yeah, I mean, you just sit there and you play well. Well, you try to play well. And I had learned that I really needed to keep careful track of stacks and pot size and stuff. So I actually wasn't really ever that bored playing at the main event, because I was paying quite a bit of attention. I didn't really have that many hands to talk about either. I mean, it was just standard poker. And I really was quite comfortable sitting there playing live by the time that I played the main event on that Monday. So, and because, you're one tabling, so it's not like you have to be very frantic, or you always have time to make a decision. So that was the nice thing about the main event, and it was fun. It was fun overall too. I'm glad I played it. Everything on day one was standard pretty much, except maybe a couple hands. So the one hand that pretty much prevented me from being break even on day one was a hand when I got dealt pocket queen. So I'm going to talk about this hand a little bit because it was pretty much the most important hand of day one. I mean, day one was standard. I raised some pots. I called and went to flops. I c-bet. I won a few standard pots here and there. It was all just not worth talking about at all until the pocket queens. So I had queens. I had it in late position, and my opponent, he raised an early position. Now, this he was a little bit interesting. He was quite aggressive. He played quite a few pots. And the one hand that I remember seeing and thinking, whoa, interesting, is, for example, he had pocket sevens. And he 3-bet squeezed pre-flop. And I mean, in the main event, we are quite deep stacked. So I thought it was very interesting that he would decide to squeeze pre-flop instead of flat and try to hit a set, right? With sevens. So he was pretty aggro. He 3-bet squeezed pre-flop with sevens. Another hand that he showed down was king 3 offsuit. He was on the cutoff. It got folded to him, and he decided to raise king 3. King 3 is a pretty bad hand. I think a lot of people would fold that. So he was aggro, and he opened up a lot when folded to him. Another hand, actually, I'm just looking at my notes here, 7-5 suited in early position. He was raising that in EP, which I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that's pretty aggro. So yeah, he would err on the side of aggression when faced with the choice of calling or raising, it seems like. So anyway, back to the hand. He raised an early position. I had queens. I said, well, this is great. I've got a good hand against an aggro player. Let's 3-bet. So I 3-bet 3x since we were pretty deep stack. And I had position. I 3-bet 3x. And when the action was on him again, he 4-bet for the first time that day. This was not the first time he's been 3-bet, though, by the way. He had been 3-bet quite a few times previous to this hand, and he'd never 4-bet. He had always flat. He always flatted, rather. Even out of position, he called. So I was sad. He 4-bet me. I was sad, okay? I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty disappointed. So I called, and I prayed for a queen on the flop. The flop was king high. Sadness continued. I mean, fuck my life. Pocket queens. Not only did I get 4-bet by someone who hasn't 4-bet yet, I had queens on the king high flop, right? It's sad. I don't know. Maybe the king saved me. Maybe he had kings or aces, and the king saved me from losing too many chips. I did not fold on the flop. I think calling is fine, especially because he only bet 1/3 pot size bet, so I called. But I did fold on the turn. The turn was a blank. He bet again, and I folded. So I feel like it was a pretty standard hand overall, but it was pretty tough on my stack. I went down to 35,000 chips after that hand, and I never got higher than 35,000 again. I did get lower. I did get lower than 35,000 though. The other notable hand I played after that allowed me to, I guess it allowed me to make day two. I finished day two with 25,000 chips, so I got lower, like I said. But I would have been even worse off if I hadn't won this pot with king queen suited. So what happened was someone raised in the early position, and I had 35 big blinds, king queen suited. A couple of people called, and I called on the button, so I got to say flop, king queen suited in position. That was nice. The flop was queen queen 4, in a 5-way pot, and everyone checked around. I'm not sure if I should have bet there on the flop on the button. Maybe I should have. At the time, I was thinking to myself, well, I don't have a lot of chips relative to the pot size, so maybe it's fine if I check back here. And what are people really gonna call me with? I've got one of the remaining queens in the deck, and are people really gonna have 4s? I guess people could have had pocket pairs, so maybe I should have bet. Like if someone had a pair of 8s or something, then they would have called me on the flop, and maybe I could have made more chips in the hand. So I think I regret checking, but I don't know. The turn was a 5 that brought a flush draw and a really nitty girl. Like, we're talking, she played no hands, okay? She played no hands. You think I'm a nit? No. This girl's a nit. She bet out of position, and I was like, shit, this is scary. I mean, I've got trips, right? I'm not gonna fold, but yeah, she bet. Someone called, and then I called. On the river, actually, before I called, I forgot about this until now. Before I called the dealer, he dealt the river. And I was like, whoa, buddy. I didn't call yet. Please don't deal the river. But of course he had already done that. So they called Floor. Floor told all of us that the card was going to be shuffled back into the deck, and that we were going to see a new river. And I had to decide what to do. So I called, and then we got a new river. The first river, I think it was just some inconsequential card. It was nothing. It wouldn't have, I mean, to me it was a blank. So I was disappointed the first time when we had to shuffle the river back in. And then the second river that came out was actually a 4. So it was queen, 4, 5, 4. That was the board. And I guess in hindsight, it was a bad river because no one had a 4. And it prevented pocket pairs from putting more money into the pot. So it probably cost me some chips that the dealer, that he dealt the river before I called. So that's unfortunate. But it's good that I won the pot. I haven't even told you what the river action was. Everyone checked to me. I bet about half pot, and then they folded. I do think that my half pot bet was too big. I should have made it probably 1/3 pot. So I regret my sizing a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. They probably wouldn't have folded anyway, not on a 4 river. So I did end up winning the pot. And like I said, finished the day with 25,000 chips. Pretty disappointing. I mean, you start with 50,000, so I only had half my stack remaining. But the structure was so good that I was still gonna have a really respectable stack. I think you actually get 40 big blinds or something. I can't actually remember at this point. God, why did I take so long to make this vlog? But yeah, you still had about 40 big blinds going into day 2, so it was not a huge deal. I mean, it was disappointing, but you know, people can come back from 40 big blind stacks. It's still a workable stack. So, I did make day 2 with 25,000 chips, and I was disappointed, but glad to still be in the tournament. Day 2 of the main event actually started out really, really well for me. I grinded all the way from my 25,000 chip stack to 45,000 in the first half of the first level, which is really, really good. I think the main reason that I was able to accumulate so many chips so quickly was that I had a really good seat. There were 2 French players at the table. They were both pros as far as I knew. At least one of them was. And one of them was to my direct right. The other one was about 3 to my left. Now, I was really lucky to have position on the guy to my right because he called so much. Like, he called tons, and at least when I raised, he wasn't able to flat me all the time, right? Because he was to my direct right. The other guy on my left, he did call a lot too, but not nearly as much as the other guy. So, yeah, that was really good for me. And even though there was that guy that was flatting to my left, there were some really good steal spots to my left. Basically, some players that were obviously, they were rec players, and they were really tight. They were folding a lot. So I was able to steal some pots. It does help that I got dealt pocket queens a couple times, and I got aces twice. So not only did I have some good spots to my left, I got some really good hands. I didn't win any big pots with those pairs, but obviously they helped me because I was able to raise. And the antes were really big, so raising was pretty important at this point. The one I did win a 3-bet pot with one of my pocket aces. It was a 4-bet pot technically because I 4-bet the guy. So basically I raised and he 3-bet me out of position and I 4-bet him. And the last time that I saw him 3-bet someone, he showed aces. So I was pretty excited when he 3-bet me because, I mean, he did it out of position. He did it out of the blinds, so he probably had I thought he probably had a really strong hand. So that's why I 4-bet. And he took a really long time to fold, multiple minutes. And I was sitting there going, okay, well, I guess if he's taking this long, I guess he's going to fold. So I was getting increasingly disappointed. And before he folded, he said to me, "Will you show if I fold?" I had no idea what to say. I did not know. I'm not experienced playing live. I don't know what to say to people when they talk to me. Jeez, I play online. No one talks to me. People talk in chat when I stream on Twitch, right? So he says, "Will you show if I fold?" I look at him, and then I looked away because I didn't know what to say. So I ended up saying nothing. And he asked me again, and I just ignored him. I felt kind of like a douche for ignoring him, but I didn't know what to say. So I just chose to say nothing. And it was... I did talk about this on Twitter. And some people on Twitter gave me some pretty funny things to say in return next time. But honestly, I think that if I ever get asked this in the future, I'll still say nothing. So if you ever play me live, just know that I'll say nothing if you ask me that. So yeah, he folded and I was pretty sad. I did play one pot blind versus blind against the aggro French guy to my right. He raised me pre-flop and I called with 6-5 suited. Pretty nice hand. The flop was king 9-8. He checked. I checked back. And then the turn was a 7. A glorious, beautiful 7. He checked. I bet about 60% pot size. And he called. I bet 60% again on the river. And then he folded. So that was the hand that got me back to 45,000 chips and almost starting stack. I'm not going to lie. At this point, now that I had almost starting stack again, I was pretty sure I was going to get back to starting stack. Like, I thought that, wow, this is really going well. This is it. We're going to make a comeback. Before I know it, I'm going to be at 100,000 chips. But no. No. I got dealt pocket aces a second time. I had 45,000 chips at Big Blind 800. Someone in an early position. Actually, he wasn't in early position. He was kind of an early mid position. He raised, and I 3-bet him, and he called after a little bit of thinking. The flop was Jack 5-3, and I c-bet, and then he raised me for basically over half my stack. And I remember sitting there being like, what the heck? Why are you raising me so big? Jack 5-3 with a flush draw. So, I mean, some people will do this with flush draws. Some people will do this with ace jack. I didn't think that I could fold, and I didn't think I could call with so much of my, so many chips to call. So, I went all in, and he flipped over a set of threes. I mean, yeah. So I was really disappointed. It sucks that both my pocket aces end in disappointment, although obviously one pot I won and the other pot I lost my stack. So that was that. I was done the main event, busto to a set. Overall, though, like I said, it was a really good experience to go to Vegas. I met some cool people, and I had fun. I don't like live poker, but I had fun playing. I had fun playing in the main event. I'd never done it before, and it was really cool sitting there. And like I said earlier, one tabling is kind of fun because you get to really concentrate and have good reads on people. So I had fun, and I mean, I wouldn't rule out doing it again in the future. But overall, I know that I'm not cut out to be a live player. I might, on occasion, fly somewhere cool, play an event while I'm there, and I'd like to play an EPT. I'd like to do that one day. So I think that I will play again live in the future for sure. But I'm not. It's not ever going to be a full-time thing. I'm an online player for life, and of course, when I'm playing live, I can't stream. So yeah, I gotta keep grinding those online MTTs, right, guys? Alright, well, that's the end of episode 9. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll try not to have such a large gap in between Donkey Brains vlog 9 and 10. I will try to record that vlog in about a month's time, okay? So please come back for episode 10. Make sure you subscribe to the channel here on YouTube so that you do not miss it. And also, click thumbs up if you enjoyed episode 9, okay? Thank you so much for watching. If you'd ever like to watch me play poker live, please come visit me on twitch.tv/courtiebee. Say hi sometime in the chat. I'll leave a link down below so you can click it and follow me there, and I'll also leave links to my social media, my Twitter, my Snapchat, all that fun stuff, so that you can follow me in those areas as well. Okay, thanks again, have a great day or night, whatever it is for you, and I will talk to you soon.